Ladies and gentlemen, gamers all around, welcome back to our regularly scheduled programming for the download queue. We are back after a busy week last week, busy 2 weeks. If you missed last week, we did our 2025 Fantasy Critic Draft. Did it on Friday, so we were without a show at our usual time. We're back now. We picked a terrible week to do that because news just blew up. There's so much going on. Hear him in the background. Kyle, how are you doing? Welcome back after, it feels like a long time, but...
Yeah, which, I mean, we talked last week, but we didn't do the podcast in the traditional way, so it does feel a little weird. Feels like we haven't talked in a while. But yeah, a lot has happened. We could have done an extra show, but it makes this show really, hopefully packed, right? There's a lot to discuss from, like, every platform in gaming, right? Everyone has something to talk about, which is great.
It was like, okay, you guys had your quiet times through the holidays. The floodgates are now open. Everything's out in the open. But it makes things exciting, like you said. I need to ask before we continue, because people are wondering. One person is wondering in particularly. How was your bread? How did your bread turn out?
Oh yeah, no, the bread's been great. I found a really good recipe that is it's just on King Arthur flour baking, whatever it is. It's just simple sandwich bread, the one I've been posting a lot. The sourdough starter has killed me. Doman Reigns, that's what the sourdough starter I used, or I have not used. I'm trying to make one. Doman Reigns has died and is moldy, so maybe this is the big dough. Doman, it's not tribal chief Doman Reigns. All right, sick. I could resurrect him. But yeah, I think it's been too cold to consistently figure out how to do my starter. Unfortunately, I kind of forgot about it as well. But I do have just regular, yeast that I can make bread with. So that has been the consistent thing I've been posting, and it's so good.
Good. I saw you were having some during wrestling, so I was like, things are turning out over there. It's coming. It wasn't all for naught.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. It's so good. Like, I got to take a pause because we're eating it too fast because it's just real good. It's not full of preservatives and chemicals, so it doesn't go stale before it gets to you. It's fresh. Anyways, that's a whole other thing we could talk about.
Starting a bread podcast. No, yeah, bread talk. As both said, we got stuff for Nintendo, we got stuff for PlayStation, we got a whole bunch of Xbox stuff this past week. If you're okay, I think we need to start kind of at the beginning of the last 2 weeks to catch everyone up on what's been going on.
Yeah.
Which that is with the Nintendo Switch 2 is finally here with a whole lot of nothing given to people waiting for this to be announced. This was 10 days ago, the 16th, I believe this was announced. Wake up one morning, 6:30 in the morning my time, bam, new trailer is out. Here's the thing. It's been kind of mixed responses from what I've seen, Kyle. This is pretty much a mixture of what I was expecting and hoping not to happen at the same time. It's a very quick, just 2-minute long trailer, shows you kind of what the new design looks like, and a snippet of a possible new Mario Kart game, with not a lot more details given out, which is left people up in the air because so much is leaked beforehand from third party, wherever, that people were expecting a lot more. And I even said the day before this, I was like, if they don't give us anything new on games, this whole announcement's going to be kind of for naught, and just pleasantries at this point. But it's here, slightly bigger. It's a fully blacked out color scheme with just colors on the inserts and the thumbsticks on the handles here. New kickstand in the back to lay it fully down. There is still unannounced button on the right hand controller that people don't know what it's for quite yet. There's possible mouse functionality, which leaves me absolutely befuddled because I don't want to use that / don't know what they were using for. But the Switch 2 is here, with more information to come April 2nd, as far as games, hopefully price and release date. But God, it's going to be a long 2 months now, having this out in the open.
Yeah, no, I kind of don't feel that way at all. But I understand why, people and you feel that way. This feels like an announcement that maybe got forced by a month, maybe a couple weeks due to all the leaks. I mean, those leaks at CES confirmed what this was. We already knew this, because of all the stuff that happened, and not just the leaks at CES. So this kind of feels lackluster, maybe because they just they had to get something out, and they just felt internally they had to, which is fine. I mean, we get to hypothesize and look at it still. What they're gonna do is still gonna be great. I do have full confidence in this type of system. The mouse support, I think, it is going to be a thing, and there's a breadth of opportunity for that. But we still have so many questions. Are they going to fix the online system and how it corresponds with other systems? They're getting Call of Duty this year or next year, right? At some point, Call of Duty's coming. How are you going to play that? You're not playing that with the Nintendo Switch mouse, of course, but is it just Switch users being put with Switch users? That user base is going to be really interesting for a Call of Duty title multiplayer, right? So it's going to be. My biggest question is: does the Switch will it talk to will it talk to other services, right?
Yeah.
Will it be able to? Yeah, go for it.
I was gonna say that's up in the news a lot too, with other stuff around Xbox of them being one of the primary developers for the Switch 2 as far as games go, which isn't really surprising. But how much of that's actually going to be? Are you going to be loading up an Xbox profile on your Switch 2, or how is that all going to work as far as online services? We talked the last 2 weeks ago now about the downloadable games because the Switch hardware is not able to keep up. How much of that's going to interact, or if the Switch 2 is going to get slightly weaker versions, or just like a multiplayer only Call of Duty, or what? There's a lot up in the air still.
Yeah, so this is just confirming what we knew. Nothing too crazy and too special, but it'll be interesting what studios now announce, hey, we do have a game coming to Switch. A lot of these indie games should be able to announce it. Xbox has been, and we'll get into all that, pretty open with their games going to other platforms, and the Switch hardware has to be capable of running better games. It already can run quite a few AAA games that are downgraded or using cloud, but it just has to be on par with what we're getting now out of the Series S, or barely. It doesn't need to do 1440p or anything. It could be downgraded, but it should be able to run Call of Duty, this year's Call of Duty, right? That's the deal in place. So it gets me excited, but yeah, it's all still speculation. Now the official rumor is no longer a rumor. It's just here.
Yeah, it's still one of the things where bunch of people upset, whatever, having an issue with stuff online, because that's what we do. No matter what, this thing's going to sell gangbusters. It doesn't matter what or how little they did show. This is still going to be the biggest thing of the year, arguably, depending on GTA 6. Even then, I feel like this has a better chance. As mentioned, it'll be interesting to see launch lineups. We talked a little bit about that, how much or how little they're going to do with that. They did at the end here, I have paused, announce or discuss backwards compatibility, which is really nice. Switch 2 plays both physical and digital Nintendo Switch games. Certain Nintendo Switch games may not be supported on or fully compatible with Nintendo Switch 2, with more details to be shared later, which I feel is pretty upfront. I've seen a lot of people assuming that the only ones that aren't going to be are ones that specifically use Joy-Cons in a weird way. The first generation Joy-Cons now, Ring Fit Adventure. I can still see Nintendo
Labo.
And Labo. I can still see Nintendo doing something weird as far as how PlayStation does, where it's kind of like a paid upgrade for certain things, maybe. But yet to be seen. It depends on how much the Switch 2 actually enhances older stuff. We're happy they at least gave us that to work off of.
Oh yeah, no, that they said this too before in a weird press release where it will be forward compatible with the current Switch games, or whatever, backwards, whatever the proper term is. This is great. This is good. I had another point, but it slipped my mind, so sorry.
Okay. Yeah, it's like I said, we have it now. Now it's a 3-month wait, whatever, till more information, which should hopefully turn people's minds that are having a negative connotation about this. I'm hoping launch lineup's good. I'm hoping this is a $400 console. If it's any more, I'm immediately out. I don't see myself spending that much on a Switch. We'll see.
I'm not even. This is not even close to a day one buy for me. I have a kid though; it's different, and I have a Switch OLED, so I'm good, right? And I'm not desperately playing these games. But yeah, I mean, it's clear this is just going to be more of the Switch, but it's going to be able to play other games, third-party games, which I think is the biggest thing. It's going to be interesting what they do with the online. If they go more Game Pass route with, hey, yeah, pay our Nintendo Online subscription, and then you get Breath of the Wild in 4K and Tears of the Kingdom, and that's how they deliver it, or if it will be piecemeal. They literally could do anything they want. They sit in between they could do what they want, so that'll be fascinating, but I like the size.
Yeah, size increase is nice. Very, very welcome addition. I'm curious. I don't think they will because I feel like it's too nice. But I hope that this first version will be the OLED model. But I see this being just how they did a Switch. Base screen, give you the OLED later as an upgrade. Which is fine. It's business. Do what you gotta do. But
it probably will be a QLED or one of the not true OLED things, but it fakes it, to a degree. That's like the TV I have. It's a QLED. So the difference escapes me fully, but there's ways they can get around it and still have that crisp and that those contrasts with the colors and the vibrance that you get with OLED. You could fake it for it now, and hopefully they did do that. Yeah, because going back and forth, I just pulled out my Switch Lite again and thinking about giving it and trying to use it with my daughter. Still, barely 18 months, almost 18 months, around there, who knows at this point. She's almost 2 years. That's what matters. But just looking at the difference between the colors is crazy between just the base Switch and the Switch Lite and the OLED. I think it'd be hard to go back for a lot of people. And I think Nintendo wouldn't want to go back to an LCD screen. So again, who knows?
With this, they get Mario Kart footage. Does Mario Kart do anything for you? So this isn't a day one for you. It's not no Mario Odyssey 2, but does Kart do anything particular?
I mean, I wish it was Double Dash. Do something a little different. Triple Dash, have threesomes on the carts. Who knows, right? There's a lot of things you could do. But I mean, yeah, it's just like, hey, we have a new Mario Kart. It's new because it looks different. Guess what? That's it. So it's hard to. I mean, I like Mario Kart. It's a great party game. It's something that, yeah, eventually I will pick up, whether it's sooner or later. I don't know, but yeah, Mario Kart's a great time. We still whip it out every now and then just to play an evening, and it's just fun. So yeah.
There's something with this trailer that I feel like it's a smoke and mirrors type of thing. I believe this is the next game, but I feel like they intentionally left something out of this trailer that they want to reveal as the new twist to it. Because yeah, it looks like Kart. It's what you expect. 24 racers now supposedly. But this particular last scene on screen, if you're on video, it's just a very long, empty stretch with nothing going on and an empty outside of Yoshi Burger over here. It's just missing that Nintendo charm. You hop on a Mario Kart 8 track and that thing is to the brim on the sides with people or things happening or things going on, and this just looks super empty to me in a weird way that I'm not ready to accept.
Look at the draw distance, though. That's what they're showing off.
I don't draw distance in my kart game. Pay attention to the track. I just feel there's something here missing. I feel they'll drop this trailer again and either some item thing, something on the track, something different, or this is how they transition to show it off where something wild happens. I've seen people speculate about open world, semi-open world races, which not really my thing for kart, but we'll see. I'm so excited.
I mean, it's a different art style. They're different karts, so it looks like it's going to be a new game. It shouldn't be just 8 up-res to 9. Like, this should have a departure. It could be a Forza Horizon style game for sure, set in a new Mario Kingdom, right? That could be unique. And then guess what? The 3D Mario or whatever Mario game's next is in this new kingdom, and it open worldy and multiplayer. You know, I could see that, but I don't know. It just looks like a Mario track to me. I didn't look that deep into it. It wasn't enough to care too much for me. Just like, cool, you chose to show off this Mario game.
Which, I mean, it's probably the best choice. If you look at sales numbers, like, Kart is, well, with Smash, like, their top thing. It's more than mainline games. Like, that's, like you said, it's the party casual aspect of it, where it is for your people who are just, oh, I have a Switch on hand, I'm going to pick up Kart because it's the reliable thing. So I think it was smart to show it off. I just wish there was something else here to go along with it.
Yeah. You'll get it.
April 2nd. Switch Direct. Can't wait. What we're not going to be waiting for, though, Kyle, is a God of War live service game from PlayStation happening.
Thank God.
Thank God. Concord has officially tipped over all the dominoes and shaken up PlayStation at its core, I would say, eventually. We have now gone from we're doing 12 live service games, whatever it was to begin with, to over half of those are now canceled. And everything's in a weird spot. This is coming. Jason Schreier announced that PlayStation canceled 2 more live service games from Bend and Bluepoint. Bluepoint was working on a live service God of War game. I haven't seen what Ben's was supposedly on, but what they've been doing since the PS5 launch of Demon Souls. Just very weird. It's a weird, I don't think people took them as seriously when they said they were going all in on live service, or they were going all in on what their future output was going to look like, to a point of, hey, we're taking our main IP games and reworking those into this. And now that we're seeing it happen, it's in a weird spot again of, hey, all these studios now have canceled things. What next? They have nothing essentially at this point, with that much being thrown away, with that much just restarting from ground zero again. Like, Sony's in a weird spot.
Yeah, I mean, it was only a matter of time, right? Like, they've been quiet because it's just waiting. They've been waiting for the Band-Aid to be pulled. They've been doing the internal reviews, getting focus groups or whatever, who knows? They've been trying to figure it out, and ultimately, yeah, they can't make these type of projects work. And like, it just seems like every studio was working on some, and they told us 12, 14, whatever the exact number was. They told us this is what they were doing, and now they're pivoting. So yeah, those dominoes had to fall, and they're just spacing it out. They're timing it out well. Good way to let this come out, and then Xbox have a big show that totally just stole the spotlight away from this type of news. But again, we are now fully just waiting on Sony to show us and tell us what's next for PlayStation. PS5 Pro came out and kind of, didn't really do a ton, right? It just kind of was like, cool, this is good tech for enthusiasts, but there's nothing causing people to go out and buy this thing desperately, right? It's just not there yet. And they're not having the games at the cadence because we don't know what's coming out outside of one game, Ghost of Yotei. So yeah, who knows what they're doing? They're in a very interesting spot. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I think, for some studios like Concord, that is doom and gloom. They are gone now. But for a company to then just get ahead of it and not continue with going on with these games and letting the studios say, hey, you're not gone, but now it's time to pitch new projects. Honestly, I hope they stay, obviously, but it doesn't mean, just because the studio says that now, doesn't mean that the next project is actually something they're going to want to invest in, and they'll be able to keep the studio, so it's still in tricky waters for Sony. But I do like them coming out and just, hey, this didn't work. We're pivoting. We're working with the studios on the next project. Here we go. Not a bad thing, but they are not in a good spot.
Yeah, so as of now, I found the full list here just to tally everything. Concord came out, canceled. We all know about that. We're now up to Blue Point's God of War live service. Ben's, they have this down as sci-fi live service title with screenshots that leaked in late 2024. I missed that, I guess. The Twisted Metal live service game was canceled in February 2024. London Studios was working on a fantasy AAA live service before they were closed last year. Of course, Last of Us Factions from Naughty Dog, Spider-Man, The Great Web, their live service thing that was leaked and then internally canceled. And then Deviation Games was working on a live service. Deviation was the new studio that PlayStation partnered with to help publish their first game. That was led by Jason Blundell, who is one of the original leads on the zombies stuff in Call of Duty. And then Destiny Payback, which was a rumored thing from Bungie, I guess. Third-person looter shooter with an emphasis on exploration. Development supposedly started in 2022. Project was canceled in August 2024. But just going through those, like, that's all of PlayStation Studios.
Yeah. They were trying to do something, yeah. And this doesn't mean that that was the studio's sole thing. I think with the God of War one, like with Bend, it sounds like, and then the other one being Blue Point and Bend, it sounds like they were full bore going into that. But, the ones we don't know about, Bungie, obviously they're doing a couple things, so that's smart to get rid of that type of Destiny thing, focus on Marathon and fixing Destiny. But yeah, I mean, it's just it was a misread of the situation, poor leadership that is causing these pivots and studio closures, unfortunately. And I mean, we can say the same thing we've said multiple times. Hopefully we don't have more layoffs and more closures, but it's just hard to know in this climate. And especially when so many studios games got canceled, so that money is just gone. And how do you then make it's complicated, and it's interesting. So I'm very intrigued when PlayStation will do another state of play, another direct, another showcase, whatever, because what do they have to show? There's just so many question marks, which makes it exciting, but there's the other question of, like, where are you going now? Like, you got to tell us where you're going. And I think really we won't get clear messaging on that until PlayStation 6. I think they the end of this generation is just going to be what it is.
Yeah, I feel we talked about this. I think it was our last episode, normal episode, of when is their next showcase. I think it's not this year anymore. I think this completely throws a wrench in all those plans. I could almost see at this point that Ghost of Yotei and Intergalactic will be the last PlayStation 5 exclusives first party, I would say. It's one of two paths, as you said. It's probably not the only thing these teams are working on. So you would assume Santa Monica, whatever they were doing, that team's going over to help with Cory Barlog's new thing. You would assume the Last of Us Factions team at Naughty Dog, they went over to help with Intergalactic to get that out sooner. Or if not, new projects. It's just how much is that help going to either push those projects forward to a nearer release date, or just help them kind of get back on track to be either PS6 launch games or shortly after.
Yeah. And I think PlayStation is in a position to just rest on its laurels. It is what it is. They're not getting as much hate over these decisions because they have a lot of good faith. They've carried through on what they've said with their consoles, and that's great. But yeah, I think they're just going to rest, and we know Intergalactic's coming, and they have so much behind that as in turn of hype, right? There's so much. It proved a lot just on a cinematic, right? So we'll see where that goes. And yeah, I don't think they have to do much. I agree with that. So we'll get state of plays for sure with third-party deals and whatnot, and more Xbox games. filling out that library over there for the next couple years. PlayStation doesn't need to release it because they're going to get brand new Xbox games. So actually, yeah, just wait till the PlayStation 6, Sony. That makes a lot of sense now. We'll see, though.
Before we get to that, I want to throw something out to you, because I feel like this, in a way, almost opens the door for what we've been saying the past year of Sony going that same route of Xbox. And this stems from a couple things. I'll get to my point. Last week, 2 weeks ago, Shuhei Yoshida did an interview with Greg Miller at Kinda Funny. First full day after leading PlayStation for 30 years. And pretty much said up front that their reason for doing so many remasters and remakes was because of a funding thing for newer projects. Games cost a ton to make. We know that. Millions of billions of dollars. Doing remasters and stuff so often helps fuel those new projects. Now that we're in a place of PlayStation not really having a lot for 2025 at all, I almost wonder if this year, now that they have a bunch open, if that leads them being, where can we get revenue? We're already doing PC. Is this gonna sort of fast track them forwards, doing another thing with a Nintendo, putting another thing on Switch or on Xbox? It's a lot that I feel is not in their favor financially. And I feel like this could be that tipping point to not all at once, drip feed it one at a time type thing. I think they'll do it in a way slower cadence than Xbox did, but I'm curious.
I do agree with that. There's titles that make a lot of sense. This isn't a PlayStation exclusive, Square Enix, right? But Final Fantasy VII and Rebirth, obviously Sony paid to keep that on their platform, on their console platform, make it exclusive, but we know Square Enix is complaining. Sony doesn't get money with that. However, that tells us there's money left on the table that companies are recognizing, and there's no way PlayStation isn't also considering it. And titles like Helldivers, a new one, totally would fit right on other platforms. It does well on Steam. It does better on Steam, arguably, in a lot of ways. But yeah, that makes sense to jump over to Xbox to help fund some more projects, help get studios through this time where they're reorganizing and refocusing what they're working on. Older titles like the back catalog, you have another Horizon, you're pushing that down, but the first Horizon out there on Xbox, people would buy it. And then what does it cost you, right? The thing is, it gets into where Xbox is going. I think their platform is going to essentially on the back end be a PC. So that should help these ports get over as well. If PlayStation is helping a studio or having a studio do a PC port for XYZ game of their studios, it shouldn't take that much long and much time to get it running on a quote Xbox, because what I think they're doing is the architecture of an Xbox is going to even be more so rooted in Windows. So then you can just, boom, any game that runs on PC also natively just tweaks can be on an Xbox quote because it's just PC hardware, right? I believe that because Xbox Play Anywhere is being pushed, and we'll get to that. But to do that, they have like these SKUs, these builds. If you can make them identical as close as possible, that's just going to help development and will avoid what's happening right now with Xbox with the Switch or the disparity between the S and the X, right? So that I do believe Xbox is positioning them in themselves in a way to be open to any game that's on PC can run on an Xbox. So yeah, I just think Microsoft is open to it. They already have games on PlayStation. They're gonna have games on Xbox too, and I because of what's going on with their studios, it makes even more sense. It's a good call out by you. Good question.
Got the thoughts. I really feel this year things are gonna get weirder and unnormal than they were last year already. A lot of the online discourse around this stuff I feel is gonna be either completely mute or so far gone in the past of where things are going. And it's this 2025 is going to be a snowball effect of that, I feel. Last thing I want to bring up on it is actually from a developer side of things. who has kind of the same thought. If I don't know if you saw this, the director from Moon Studios, Ori and the Blind Forest, their new game No S for the Wicked, responded to an interview we'll talk about later of Phil on with Paris and Danny Pena's special interview thing they did.
Gamertag Radio.
Gamertag Radio, thank you.
Yeah.
He pretty much says, Thomas Mahler, you can find us on Twitter. In my emails to Phil over the years, I've always brought up how crazy it would have been if you could have only watched certain DVDs on Sony players, while for others you would have needed a Samsung player, etc. I think we can all agree that this would have been nutty for films, so why are games any different? As you just said, Xbox Series X and PS5 basically contain the same hardware nowadays, so porting from one platform to another isn't that big of a deal anymore. Their controllers are mostly the same, Steam boxes will also be the same. Not supporting all these devices makes no sense since you just cut out a huge chunk of your potential audience. Consoles have been stuck attracting the same 100 to 150 million players for over 2 decades. If we want to see the industry grow, it needs to be easier for everyone to access the content. A couple paragraphs down, he straight up says, I'd be surprised if Sony won't end up with the same strategy. People should buy the device they like the most, but they should then have access to all the content. Which I feel is the first kind of direct response to this from the developer side, which is interesting. Not saying, obviously, Moon Studios is a smaller thing, but after doing the first 2 Ori games on Xbox, then going multi-platform with No Rest for the Wicked, if those internal discussions are happening between developers already, to a point of this is where the majority of people are going, he straight up said, emailing Phil about random stuff when they're with them, if he's having those same talks with the PlayStation, if other studios are having those same talks with the PlayStation and Xbox, like, it's so much that we don't get to know or get any sort of inkling on as fans, as players, when what we're talking about could have been in development for the past year already, and they just haven't pulled the trigger on any of it.
Yeah. Which you say, like, we just don't get to know, but honestly, they've told us this already, right? And it's just now happening in a way where we can see it and everyone can identify it. It's not just words and ideas that, hey, you said this and that didn't. It's like, no, it's changing and evolving. We said we're going to test it out, putting games on other platforms, and we're going to learn. And we learned, and it works. It's like, well, you lied. No. We told you we're going to test it. What does that mean? We might change it up. It's so silly, right? But I like hearing that from the developer side. That is interesting, and yeah, it's kind of what I was saying right before too. So we're in agreement on that. I think that is. It also is what Phil talked about in the interview, which we'll get to.
We'll get to it right after we take a look at the developer direct, Kyle.
I was like, do we have an ad break?
No.
Wait, like right after this, and I was like, what?
That was pretty clean, though. Yeah, no, Xbox Developer Direct finally happened. Again, happened when we were gone 2 days ago now. What a solid show. We talked about trying to get on doing a reaction to this afterwards. This was, in my eyes, if not the best, second best one they've done of the 3 of these. The surprise they did was, for the most part, kept secret, thankfully. Hi-Fi Rush in that year leaked ahead of time. Just solid. We got release dates, we got gameplay, we got deep dives into stuff, we got a shadow drop. Top level initial reactions from you. How are you feeling? Because you live reacted to this, right?
Yeah, I did end up live reacting. I was able to hop on out here and do that. I mean, it's a great show. To start off with the surprise, and then it being Ninja Gaiden, and then they shadow drop Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, which I've been playing, and I'll talk about that a little later. But yeah, and then the cadence of just going through game to game, the production value right off the bat, they just keep upping it, and they have a style and a production template for this clearly, and they hit it every year. It's consistently been the developer _direct. There's a vibe to it, there's a purpose and intention, and they just keep fine-tuning that. And I think it's Tini Army, she's whoever's in charge. Yeah, just great, knocking it out of the park, continues to. Xbox shows have been very, very, very well produced. And for this one specifically, to focus on the developers, give them time to talk. Like, to open up your developer direct with one thing, a foreign studio where most of it's subtitled. I mean, I don't think most people would think of doing that, maybe would shy away from it, but it shows confidence in the team, the developer, and knowing that games surpass just languages and language barriers. And obviously Ninja Gaiden is a property closely tied to Xbox history and everything. And yeah, it's just, I mean, great production overall. I can keep rambling about stuff, but those are my top level things. Can't complain honestly about any aspect of the show.
Yeah. No, it was solid. Starting off, before we take a look at the other stuff, they started off the show with something that I thought you were happy about, and I hope it gets implemented sooner. Straight up, all games are available on day one with Game Pass, which for the most part people would assume with first-party stuff. And then right after, all games support Xbox Play Anywhere and Xbox Cloud Gaming. Buy once, play on Xbox consoles and Xbox app on PC with cross saves and cross progression. I wish they had this blanketed out over more studios by now, sadly. This is solid to see it start here, but I finally hopped into Dead Rising Remake last night. I was like, oh, I'm going to do this as a stream game. Not Play Anywhere, can't, sorry. There's no way of me playing it on PC. And I know going forward that it's going to be about what the consoles can do, the capabilities behind the scenes. I just wish this was branched out farther than it was by now. Still solid either way.
So looking at their online, there's it says there's 426 titles that are Xbox Play Anywhere. And it's a lot of Hello Neighbor, The Long Dark, some indies titles and such, but it is South of Midnight, Avowed will be, and Starfield is, and stuff. So they've been doing it. State of Decay 2 has been, Guardians of the Galaxy is on there as well. So there's third party. So I get what you're saying. It's just not something that they've pushed and talked about yet, but I don't think their platform has been ready for it. And I think with the next Xbox and where they're going, that statement at the beginning of the show tells me, and looking at the catalog and how awesome using Play Anywhere is, because guess what? It just works. You don't have to think about it. You download on your PC, your saves are there and the game's there. And like games you buy, it isn't just Game Pass games. If you buy Starfield, you get both the PC and the Xbox version. That's something that if they can get you to sign in on other platforms, and I can buy a Switch, Halo on Switch, and sign into my Microsoft account and have all my saves there, that's going to be crazy for Xbox. Obviously, that's different than Play Anywhere, but that's the whole sentiment of what they're trying to accomplish here.
Well, it kind of is for Sea of Thieves on PlayStation. Like, to play online, you need to make a Microsoft account, sign into a Microsoft thing for that to have that work. So I can see that happening. The other part of this that confirms something for me, at least, if this is how they're going forward with the titles they're marketing, developing first party, having partnerships with, I would almost say the speculation about the handheld being a native device is all but confirmed. If they can do that too, where play it on PC, play it on the handheld to go, download it wherever you're going, that alone changes so much for me personally. We talked about streaming here, whatever. But yeah, if I'm able to pick and choose what I download on my handheld before I go somewhere on a trip, whatever, have those natively ready, perfect. Sign me up. I'll be there day one.
Yeah. Death Stranding is on this list as well. So, like, when I upgrade my PC, I get to play a nice kitted out version of Death Stranding. And like Xbox has been invested in the ecosystem on PC side. The app works great. It runs well. Like, they're positioning themselves in a way to take advantage of the borders coming down, the walls coming down between platforms, and it's going to be about services, platform. Like, what platform do you play on? There's already games that I've bought in the past that are Play Anywhere. I now have the PC version for some reason, and that's awesome, right? It just adds into everything. So very fascinating. We went on a little tangent there. Metaphor Refantasio.
Get on it. Persona 3, gotta get that done. Game. As mentioned, no, you're good. Ninja Gaiden started off the show. Ninja Gaiden 4, which has been gone for, I think they said 10 years. I think it's actually 12 or 11, because they had Yaiba as an Xbox One launch window game. a weird collaboration with Team Ninja and Platinum Games, which we don't really see a lot of upfront like that, where it's, hey, we're co-developing this between two studios. It's usually one's lead, one's coming in to support, sort of thing. And 2025 release window, awesome, bring this back. I love that we're getting a announcement release same year. And Ninja Gaiden Black 2, Unreal Engine 5 remake of the second game, dropped right after the show into Game Pass immediately. I believe it's a $50 purchase on PS5. So,
and on Xbox, it's everywhere.
Game Pass, Kyle.
Yeah. I know we have Game Pass, but you also can buy it. You know? You saying it's also $50 on PlayStation makes it sound like it's not $50 on Xbox. It is as well. Or $20 or 10 if you have or $1 maybe if you have Game Pass. Anyway, yeah, I didn't know. I have totally missed out on Ninja Gaiden. Have not touched them at all before this announcement. So it comes out. I'm like, I don't know Team Ninja. I did like, was like, is that Ninja Gaiden? And a friend in chat luckily was like, yeah, it is. Like, okay, cool. Okay, I did recognize what Team Ninja is, but I just never played them. But the trailer for 4 sold me. I was like, it looks like a game I want to play. Like, kind of an action beat 'em up. That might not be the right way to say it, but you're just like slashing enemies a lot. It's chaotic, high, fast pace. I love what it looks like speed wise and the platforming and such. So it sold me. And then to Shadow Drop, the second one, a whole remaster, which is up-res. I saw a thread on Threads, I think, of someone just kind of explaining like it's not a remake. They're not building Ninja Gaiden 2 Black in Unreal 5. It's just using it to up-res the visuals and everything, because it still performs like doo-doo. That camera is awful. Oh boy. But it does add to the difficulty. And before we were recording, I beat chapter 1. I hopped back in, and the little boss fight at the end was like, okay, I see where this is going to go. But man, at first that camera's frustrating, and the enemies and they just say, you press X and Y for your attacks. And like, that's kind of it. And it's a learning curve, but it's cool. So I am very excited to hop into Ninja Gaiden 4 when it does come out, to have a fresh new experience built from the ground up. And Platinum Game has a history with action games. I'm right. I believe, yep. Right. So that should help make it feel more modern and at least a camera that doesn't suck ass.
Yeah, this was exciting. There was some rumors leading into the show that the unannounced thing was a major Japanese franchise coming back, having a new entry in. So a lot of people were speculating this was the Final Fantasy announcement finally. New Resident Evil 9, people thought. I'm happy as Ninja Gaiden, though. This is, again, it's everywhere now, but this is such a core Xbox series, I believe, especially original Xbox One generation. Like, I think back to growing up and seeing people with original Xbox, like, Gaiden was one of those top games. There was like Gaiden, Halo, the Matrix game that was on there. Like, it was one of those standout things. And yeah, bringing back together Team Ninja with, I believe a lot of stuff has gone to Platinum since, which, as you mentioned, Platinum, the Nier series, Bayonetta, like that's their ish, is the flashy, super over the top action stuff. And just with how game looks gorgeous, like the visuals, the colors popping out, like I'm so excited to see how this lands. I hope, like you said, the gameplay has changed so I can get into it. I tried the original series when they dropped in Game Pass last year, the year before. Could not get into them. Like you said, that camera difficulty for me, not there. But I'm excited. This was a very, very welcome surprise, and hopefully sets the standards for Shadow Drop every one of these, but that's wishful thinking. We're 2 for 3 so far. Right after that came Clair Obscur Expedition.
Oh man, I was muted. I I apologize. I was been talking and I was like, he's just not listening. Why would you do that? I do want to mention real quick before we move on, like when Team Ninja started off, or when the game started, it did say they're partnered with Xbox Game Studios Publishing, which I think is interesting because they don't own Team Ninja, right? They're just acting as the publisher here. So it's still, I still have the question, Xbox where they're not going to tell us what they're doing with Xbox Studio games. But I thought it was interesting, right? They have a new publishing label and a logo at least. But yeah, that was it.
Which there's actually something with that. I feel I had a conversation with someone on Twitter that was talking about it, kind of, and it was talking about them becoming a third publisher in that way, helping smaller teams get their games out, whatever, but then also fighting other third parties skipping their console. And I feel like that's kind of why they've done so many purchases recently with studios, with Activision before that, with Bethesda, is if you have that initial investment and you own these studios, they're kind of forced to develop for years, no matter what, whether it's exclusive or not. But now having the publishing arm being more visible in a place like this for other studios to see, I think it kind of opens the door for them to do more stuff like this without, hey, we're going to help you develop this, publish this, market this, whatever, without making it exclusive. Because I got a lot of flack for that with Tomb Raider back on Xbox One. I think it was,
which is ridiculous because Sony was doing the same thing.
Yeah, but now they can kind of do that without the backlash and still get the benefits of it now, which I feel super smart.
Yeah, I think it's what Phil and Xbox and Microsoft has been preaching with Xbox is they want to give not just players the choice, but also developers the choice to be able to make and create something that they're trying to create and not worry about a lot of the business stuff or the financial stuff, or, you know, they just want to equip people to be successful within that. And yeah, this is an extension of that. Of course, it's a good little angle there. I like that. Because, yeah, I do think showing, like, hey, you can work with us. We're not going to lock you to Xbox, though. That's silly. However, if people do play your game and you want us to add Play Anywhere, they get it 2 SKUs, and you put it, like, we could really, you know, this is the they start pitching the platform as opposed to helping make the game. Like, we know you're going to make a game. We're going to help you make this game. Let's talk about how we get it to people, though. And I think interesting, for sure.
After Ninja Gaiden, I lied. It was not Expedition 33. We got South to Midnight, which I wanted more from this. I'm super happy with what they showed. We got more. We got new scenery, new environments, kind of a deep dive on story, what the story actually is, more combat focused stuff. It just didn't do enough to push it over the edge for me. I'm still so excited for this. This is one of my most anticipated this year. But I mentioned the last time we got together, I hope that this is the one that pushes compulsion into kind of that next tier of developers. And what they showed, I'm kind of thinking it's not going to be it. I feel it's going to be a solid thing, but I don't think it's going to be like, oh, this is kind of a breakout Xbox thing. I feel this is going to kind of come, go, and it was a flash in the pan. I'm genuinely surprised they didn't just straight up announce a PS5 release date on this. The Ninja Gaiden one they had on their section, this is one of the smaller ones I feel they would want to get in more people's hands. And doing this one 6 months down the road, whatever, I don't feel is going to change much. But launching April 8th. We got Avowed next month. March is kind of empty, and then we're starting off April with South Midnight, which I'm still excited for. I'm going to play it day one. I'm there. Still all in for this. It just didn't do that little extra I wanted from it.
Oh man, I totally disagree with you. I think this did exactly what it needed to. I don't need to see any more. You've explained the combat and the tools enough and I've seen it. It looks better than it did the very first showing. The story, I'm all down for. The vibes, I am ready to be immersed in this type of aesthetic and world, and it sounds and looks like they're doing their due diligence and doing this in a way that honors the folklore of the American South, which is something that I just don't know enough about, but there's just this intriguing nature to all that. Of course, this underlying mystery feeling to it all. And I feel like that's just what Southern folklore is. Yeah, I think they sold me on all that within it. I think we don't need Compulsion to be anything more than what they are. And I think this game kind of shows that, hey, all their games have been kind of specific and thematic in different ways. So I think it just continues what they're doing. And if Xbox can allow its studio not to have to scale up to keep making the numbers go up, but we get 10, 15 hour, maybe 20, 25 for this. I see closer 15 to 20 hour games that don't need to sell millions of units, but Xbox can still allow games like this to come out and such. I just think we don't need Compulsion to be anything more than what they are, and they seem they're doing exactly what they are with this. So, yeah, I feel more positive about this and where it's heading.
Fair enough. Again, not long to wait. April 8th. They are doing, I just saw, one of your favorite things, Kyle.
No.
Coming out April 8th. Or you get that South of Midnight Premium Edition, which includes the full game up to 5 days early access, as well as digital extras.
Yeah, it's silly, but you know, here it is, though. This is just what Xbox is going to do. And that's fine. Whatever. And the option is there for... The option is there for people, and if you really want to play it 5 days earlier, that's fine. The moment these games, though, it happens and people are getting spoiled on big story things for a game, not saying this is what's going to happen, but as soon as that does happen, it's going to kind of feel real bad that stuff is spoiled because I didn't pay extra. Nah, that's ass. But it's not there yet, so we'll see.
Oh, and it makes sense. We said it with Starfield. You get the Game Pass subs, people playing it there, but then you get those of us who double dip to get that early access because they have the cheaper upgrade for it, whatever. You get people double dipping, so not straight out buying the game, but you're still getting extra income from that upgrade pass.
But the extra edition for Starfield came with an expansion. This comes with art books that are all probably locked on the Xbox console, comic books, a music video, and a documentary, which a documentary will be fascinating, of course. I would love to watch that documentary, but it's also going to be out on YouTube at some point. So again, hey, if you're throwing in a battle pass, or not a battle pass, but the DLC pass, the next expansion you get, I'm down for that. That's just, why not? But yeah, for games like this where it's just digital content, it seems a little silly. It seems more you're paying to play it early than trying to get the digital stuff. But we'll talk about that a lot more as Xbox keeps doing it.
Now, next up was Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Also given a release date, thankfully, as April 24th. So you got about 2.5 weeks in between there. Solid. Again, I'm still at the same hype levels I was for this going in. Got a deeper sort of thing on gameplay. I'm happy they didn't focus a lot on the voice cast. They made it more about the actual game and its mechanics and the world. Gave you more information about your core cast of characters. It seems that the team super just wants to bring back that old PS1 era RPG style. They had a huge section of how this game has an open world map that you can fly around, roll around, swim around on a giant air balloon guy that's just super goofy, bounce around. Love him.
Yeah, that was great. It's such a goofy ass thing. This game is not just serious, it's goofy, and I love it.
Yeah. It feels like a passion project for these people to recapture that sort of magic that RPGs are either go super stylized like Persona, which does good. They're held to high regard. But a lot of them are still, they don't break out into a wider audience, I feel. If you're a Japanese RPG player, you're there for those, playing only those. And hopefully this does something for that, to turn people onto the franchise and just genre in general. Good mix, like you said, of the goofy and serious and weird story happening. Still can't wait. April 24th. I hopefully will have South of Midnight done by the time this comes out.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Yeah, no, this is I don't want to see more now. You don't need to show me any more of this, really. I'm happy with what they showed. Characters, hold on, I'm going to restart that sentence. The game has character. for sure there's style to it, and yeah, I'm excited just to drop into this world. And it's just I hope it lands, because the voice cast is there. The voice cast is insane. Charlie Cox, Ben Starr, so many other people. Yeah, I just hope the gameplay can be there so we get just a fantastic new IP with a strong premise. Yeah, I'm hoping this is good.
Ending off in the most badass over-the-top way they possibly could have. Doom the Dark Ages, full reveal out, launching May 15th, which leaked a little bit ahead of time. God, the first half of this year is wild. All 4 of these games, Ninja Gaiden Black 2, Assassin's Creed Origins, or not Origins,
Shadows,
thank you, sorry. Just wild start to the year, and Doom kicking us off in May, leading into the June showcase, essentially. I'm so hyped. I almost want to go back and replay the first 2 leading into this, because it's been a while. This, again, deep gameplay dive. They talked about how Doom Eternal kind of turned some people off. It was a really floaty, jumping around up in the air, trying to stay afloat above enemies type thing. This one, they really want to make it more grounded. They gave you the shield to deflect shots back at people, using it to ram into people. Talked about how just in general, the verticality is kind of taken away, and they want you to have more boots on the ground, mobile tank sort of feel as you're playing through, which I'm totally down for. Open world settings more so than the linear levels, which I hope translates, because that isn't always the easiest thing to do. It sounds awesome sometimes, but you're obviously left with worlds that are empty with aimless walking in between, but we didn't really see any hint of that here. It was constant stuff going on, constant action, enemies everywhere. It just seems like a big battlefield playground. I'm so hyped.
Yeah, it sounds like the open world is like probably a scaled down, more dense, filled with enemies. Halo Infinite. You just run around and then you go into zones and do stuff. So like on their Xbox Wire posts, they talk about, you'll be open area filled with towering structures, dangerous dungeons and battlefields. And they talk about the campaign too being like one of the biggest. They have full cutscenes and it's not just through the logs, which is good, but also it's like, man, this game sounds like it might be pretty big, especially with this open world stuff. So that makes me feel a little like, okay, we'll see if it lands. But outside of that one little, we'll see. I mean, the combat looks great. The music obviously always hits. And I like how they sold, and they talked about the first Doom 2016 and then the sequel Eternal, and the difference in gameplay and how they're approaching this game as you're a land tank. You're not jumping in the air on this one. So I think they sold it well. From Dragon Age Veilguard, I'm going to now have Doom Eternal to play with a throwy shield again. So it's just going to play a bunch of games where I throw a shield now. It's great. But I mean, it's Doom. It looks cool. I just worry about they're trying to make this the biggest, or I'll get the right language they said, but it's the most ambitious Doom to date, they're saying. So that could also miss in some ways.
Yeah,
I just don't want bloat.
I've seen some people talk about that with bloat and stuff like the giant mech they have and the dragon almost being too much and kind of just thrown in for like cool factor.
They also said it's not even using it once. They're like, there's multiple missions for both, and there are upgrades and skills for both. It's like, all right.
But it's been, we said 5 years since Eternal, so they've had time. It's still id Tech engine, so no engine reworks, it's just making a cool, badass game. That's out the first half of the year.
Yeah, and then, if the combat loop is good, you'll want it to be long, right? Like, if it's fun to just do it, it won't matter if it's you won't notice the bloat. So that's the fine, what they have to find. So they've been good in the past, so we'll see. They also get a premium upgrade, 2-day early access.
Ooh.
And you get campaign DLC. So thank you, Bethesda. Only so far Bethesda is the one that's including their DLC and their premium upgrades. I like him.
I never got around to the DLC. They did DLC, similar thing for Eternal. I never got around to. I think they did 2 packs actually in that.
Oh, I never played it. Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah. It's funny that Starfield. Same thing. Either way. A killer great like start to the year, right? For Xbox from Avowed coming soon, and then South of Midnight, Claire Obscure coming from a brand new studio. They're supporting a new studio here, helping them get out, and then to end it with fucking rip ass Doom, and then to go into summer season. The dominoes, they're falling.
I would have to look at it deeper. A part of me almost wonders if we're gonna hit a point where they're gonna have a slow period again with how much they have going on. But it's wild. I'm trying to find here. Someone did like a full list for the year. Because it's those. Fable still supposedly. The Gears E-Day stuff is still spinning. Oblivion remaster, Call of Duty, obviously.
That's not even confirmed.
It's here, Kyle. It's in the. People were saying it might have been here.
This is way better than that remaster. What we got is way better.
It's just wild when you look at what they have and the pieces finally coming together for them as far as releases. Like, it's exciting. It's a solid time to be in the ecosystem and finally seeing the rewards for waiting around so long from them.
Agree. But yeah,
that was
Killer
the developer
Showcase.
direct.
Yeah, or developer direct. Yeah, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, easy. It's up there.
Up there. Right after the direct, a day or two after. Got some Phil Spencer interviews. Phil Spencer. For Gamertag Radio, we mentioned earlier. Also did one with Destin Legary. It's been a long day. Who just recently left IGN on his own, doing his own thing. So go check both of them out and support them. Gamertag Radio has been around for so goddamn long.
20 years.
Wild. They deserve it though. Couple things from the interview though that again internet is in a tizzy about. I was one of them for a little bit because I am coming off of sickness and post snap tweeting when I shouldn't be.
That explains your grumpy attitude.
It was. I literally woke up. I was like, looked at Twitter. I'm like, oh, not this again. But yeah, it's again more doubling down on what they've been telling us. More doubling down on what people don't want to accept quite yet. Just really the most forward I think Phil's been as far as interviews go of where they're taking Xbox as a brand and where he sees this all going in the end, which I was super appreciative of, even though people are still trying to twist words around. I'm trying to find stuff about... One sec.
Yeah, I gotta...
Go ahead, yeah. I
have the... So in that podcast, Paris Lily specifically asked this question to Phil, and I think it's kind of ties to where you tweeted out something about there goes the Xbox brand. I'm like, this brand is strong, my friend. You're wrong in that. But this question from Paris Lily to Phil: there is concern in the community that if you're putting games on other platforms, why would I still want an Xbox when I can get that experience on another platform? And then Phil goes to answer that question. I want people to pick hardware based on the capabilities of that hardware and how that fits into the choices they want to make about where they want to play. We want our hardware to win based on the hardware capabilities we have. So you can't get more black and white on that. Hardware is a part of the Xbox brand. It's going to still be around, and it's the ability to have choice is there, right? They know it's just a different world than it is. They're past playing by the same exact things of console, or you need games to sell the console and you sell the console at a loss. It's your library is always there now. It's just being the place you play on, and that means there's different metrics for that. But we're still going to get consoles. There's no way we don't get consoles. Well, we don't get a console. Whether that's like a Switch or a Steam Deck device only, that I could see them eventually doing that. But man, these things are just going to be Xbox branded PCs that some models will be able to turn into a laptop or an actual PC, through a button in the menu, or some are actually locked in like the current console. But yeah, it's going to get unique within here. But man, they're not getting rid of the Xbox console for a while, at least 2 generations, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's them doubling down, and I feel a lot of it's still people kind of upset about how fast this is happening. I've seen a lot of people bring up the last year's interviews of starting off with 4, not promising any more than that as far as multi-platform stuff. The Indiana Jones thing at Gamescom, like, everyone's picking out specific instances of messaging more so than the actual messages and ideas behind it.
And I think it's people choosing to hear what they want to hear. When Phil says we're going to start with 4 games and we're going to test it out and see. Yeah, he didn't say he said 4 and now there's more. He lied. No, you're just choosing to focus on the wrong aspect of it, where Xbox is testing things and they've clearly found success. Other studios are crying to be put on other platforms too. Again, Square Enix is such a good example of them being like, yeah, we lost money and we'd love to be on other platforms. We regret signing the deal to lock Final Fantasy VII on PlayStation only, and now it's on PC. But man, we're losing money. If it was all there at once, it would have been great for Square Enix, right? Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, there's the other thing he said from that Gamertag Radio interview, does mean more of our games shipping on more platforms, not just PlayStation. Love the work we do with Nintendo. Love what we do with Valve on Steam. Put the games first, make the games be as great as they can, which that sounds good, right? Like, that sounds like, hey, we're putting studios first. We want these to succeed. We mentioned with PlayStation earlier of getting the most revenue you can out of them. But as you said, people picking what they want to hear. It's that comment immediately followed by, look at all their layoffs last year. How can you say that while doing the opposite? It's a constant back and forth of, I'm going to go get this snippet of a thing from last year that may not be involved with the discussion currently. Times change. Things are rapidly changing. And using it as bait online for viewership, sadly.
Yeah, and that stuff is silly.
100%. And it's
because he also addressed that too. He's like, sometimes it is making those harder choices, unfortunately, that aren't well received to then ensure long-term stuff. Like, okay, it wasn't just Microsoft, but Microsoft is a big ass corporation, and that is the problem with this capitalist system we live in. But we can't stop that. We're just talking about the things that happen within it, and to just keep faulting over. Yeah, at some point, it's over, right? That's not relevant as much anymore. Which is not fair to say to all the people that got laid off.
No, still sucks, but
yeah, so yeah, I do recognize that.
To a point was going to happen. But even with that, like, people point that out and they don't bring up, we got a new Activision studio announced last year that most people forgot about. Like, they're still building blocks and pieces for the future of these studios to develop under, work under, do whatever. And it's them being ahead of things again. This feels like the Xbox One DRM thing again, of Xbox is screwing up, they're dead, these same conversations were happening when they were just getting things in place for the future. It's Xbox is the hardware company with the infrastructure to have servers for stuff, with the infrastructure to do weird handhelds, do weird stuff, where Sony is the software side of things. Like, Xbox has the capabilities to get these things in place sooner than later and set themselves up earlier and set these teams up to be in a better place down the line. Which again, if Sony, how they're at, I wouldn't be surprised if they'd go faster into that this year, like we said. It's a lot to look at, and when you're managing that many projects or studios or just people's livelihoods, like, you need to find ways to get the most out of the projects you're developing for, most revenue out of the games you're trying to make, whether it be live service, whether it be just putting it on other things, microtransactions, whatever it be. But it is the hard truth of these things need to happen, and if someone's going to do it, they're going to be the ones taking a bullet for it first off.
Yeah, and he mentioned that in the gamer tag one too. Like, you got to do stuff first and try different things and break molds, or paraphrasing, of course. But yeah, I mean, they have been, right? I think they've been leaning to Xbox has focused and invested in their platform for a long time with the cloud saves and everything, with the backing of Microsoft, of course. They have all those server spaces, and it's a benefit for them. But yeah, it's just been there for a while. Now it's because they did all that work. I'm going to be in the next 2 years holding an Xbox branded handheld, playing a 360 game with my save from that era, from that time, right? And it's just something that, yeah, it just works, and people don't think about and give them credit for, but it just works. And what it comes down to still is you need games, and we're there now. So hopefully, right? Hopefully these games are hidden, but we will see for that.
There is part of the gamer tag when I screenshotted that. I hope this was like an intentional thing he put in there, because it's something we also talked about recently. When talking about games over the next few years, Phil said, never been more excited about our portfolio, how the teams are coming together to talk about technology, which has been talked about a while, of teams helping others do stuff. I always bring up how Rare helped with the water in Forza Horizon. Like, they're just working internally together. Matt Booty does a great job with these offsites where it's technical conversations, creative conversations, all the teams learning from each other, sometimes on game things, and this is where it caught my eye, and I haven't seen anyone else bring this up. Sometimes on game things, sometimes on things like Fallout television show. And how do you think about other people doing things with your IP? Which, we talked about that with Fallout. Do we give Fallout to Obsidian again? People always talk about other studios working on a Halo project, working on a Gears project. That last line, I was like, oh, that's interesting to throw in there, because that's kind of messaging to the people who have been throwing these ideas together recently and wishing for Obsidian to do another thing in the Fallout universe. For him to just straight up be like, oh yeah, teams working with your IP, like, how do we branch that out and let other teams experiment with that? I hope that was a hint at the future. God, give me new Fallout, please.
Yeah, no, Larian's working on the tactical Fallout 1. Come on, my friend.
Nah.
Wait, when it gets announced, man, this world. If I'm calling it,
On fire.
I doubt that's what it'd be crazy, right? It just out of nowhere if Larian just gets the IP for the right to do that type of Fallout tactic. Anyways, tangent. No, that's interesting. It's collaboration is good. Game jams seem like they're fun and good, and you get great ideas coming out of them. Sometimes they turn into full-fledged games or experiences within games. So it's just creative stuff requires throwing things at a wall, and it's more helpful to throw things at a wall with a lot of people to tell you, hey, try throwing it this way or throw it over there, right? Analogy's getting lost a little bit there. But yeah, so I mean, it's what you want, right? Open collaboration in an open environment, and that fosters development and learning and growth. It's a good thing. Yeah. Maybe we'll see if Xbox actually pulls the plug on letting others non-traditional studios work on IPs they don't traditionally work on. There we go.
I can only hope. This also goes back, as you mentioned, putting stuff on other platforms. He did straight up say with PlayStation and Nintendo Switch, which ties into a rumor that Xbox is supposedly one of the like largest teams working as far as output on Switch 2 games, which I feel is interesting. We've had the stuff with Master Chief Collection come up before. Starfield's been back up in the conversation. It'll be interesting to see how far back and stuff they go. I mentioned last time, I wonder if they're going to do specific Switch 2 versions of the ones they've already done, but with backwards compatibility, probably not. So you would assume it's just a whole new slate of things.
Oh, yeah.
I could see, because I saw it on my dashboard the other day, I could see Rare Replay finally being on Switch 2, which is the most full circle thing that could possibly happen.
Yeah.
Please, that would be perfect.
Especially if the Nintendo like puts other things in there too, right? There's I bet there's some era stuff that can, I don't know too much about Rare and Rare Replay, but there could be some partnerships there where Switch Online owners get something. Yeah, no, I think Xbox is clearly playing ball with people, and yeah, they're going to be everywhere that wants them. And I think Nintendo's like, hey, you're part of the reason we wanted a Switch 2 that runs actual games. So like runs better because you were giving us games. So we had to make a unit, right? Obviously there's more to it, but I do want to talk about, just to bring up, because we like talked about it and mentioned it, but Destin on his podcast specifically with Phil Spencer did ask a question. If he could solidify that Starfield is staying put on Xbox for the time being, and Phil says no. There's no specific game that I would. This goes back to my red line answer. There's no reason for me to put a ring fence around any game and say this game will not go to a place that it will find players where we would have business success for us. Right? It's just, we're able to drive a better business that allows us to invest in a great game lineup that you saw, and that is our strategy. Game Pass is important to play on the play games on our platform, but to keep games off other platforms, that is not a path for us. Hey, you can hate that. It feels weird. You might not like that as an Xbox fan and someone who only plays Xbox or loves Xbox, and you feel like you might lose it. Xbox is gone. I think this is great. I think this is fantastic. The developer thing you brought up earlier with him bringing up music and movies, like a Sony branded disc wouldn't be able to play in a Panasonic thing. Like that's duh. Like that wouldn't be the case, and it wasn't the case. So why are games like that? That is such a strong argument to just like, hey, they want you to argue about this. That helps the money grow and shares go places, right? Just this is better for consumers, and we'll see if it either helps Xbox financially or Game Pass might eat them away slowly long term, because subscription services need growth, right? And at some point that stops. So what does that mean at that point? That's a concern, but I think right now it's a great place. People enjoy Starfield. I can't wait for it to get like 9 out of 10s on PlayStation. It's gonna be great
across the board. Halo's gonna be great again. That's the one thing where I still, just being greedy in the back of my mind, if I could have anything out of this, I just wish it wasn't day and date for stuff. Because we talked about it, we've had discussions online. To me, Game Pass isn't enough of a reason to. It's whether it be 6 months or whatever. I feel like there should be something for the Xbox fan still. Like, you're getting these awesome games, or you get Game Pass if you want it, whatever.
But again, what games are going day and date? A Bethesda game, a Team Ninja game partnered with Compulsion that is using Xbox Game Studios publishing, not South of Midnight, which is an Xbox Game Studios game. They're not day and date. So again, as live Xbox Game Studios games are on a time thing, I don't give a shit. Every other studio, Activision, Bethesda, all those other arms, do what you want. We bought you. You're making us money. Welcome to the party. We're going to help make sure you stay open, because we're Microsoft and we should have that much capital to ensure that no more layoffs, right? But yeah, I think it's a great thing.
And all this again, I stand by it. This year with PlayStation doing stuff, the second rumors even start of them putting a game over, all of this is going to be for nothing, because these conversations aren't going to be happening anymore. It will on the PlayStation side of them accepting it and going through the motions that Xbox fans are now. But again, it's just one side's doing it. It's easy to pick on and target because it's a one-sided thing. It gets you views, which is shitty, but that's how things work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's still exciting time.
Okay.
I found the thing I was looking for here.
Okay.
Yeah, Xbox first party 2025. So far, Avowed, South of Midnight, Doom: The Dark Ages, Oblivion remake. I'm throwing that in there. It's happening. You can't take that away from me, Kyle.
I did.
Outer Worlds 2, Hourborn, which I see a lot of people forget about. Call of Duty,
Towerborn.
Call of Duty, Ninja Gaiden 4, Fable, Gears, E-Day, if that happens. I'm still on the fence on that one. And yeah, it's announced so far. And I think it was in that Destin interview, he said there's still stuff 2025 that he's excited about that they're not announced. Like, that's wild. My free time is gone. Even just talking about those 4 games from the Direct, like April to May, that's too much. That's just first party too much. You're still fitting Ghost of Yote on PlayStation over there?
That's not coming out spring.
Yeah, who knows?
They're stretching that till fall. They don't have nothing else.
So what? Just want to ride the third party Xbox games through the first half of the year?
100%. They don't need to do jack shit. They just need to stay quiet. That's where Xbox put their foot in their mouth. They would say, hey, this is what we're doing. Hey, we messed up. And everyone's like, excuse me? You're taking ownership? You're being honest? And they crucified them for it. So that's why you see Phil doing very specific podcasts with very specific people now. Anyways.
Again, it goes back. We said it last year. The messaging, by a June showcase, give us some sort of not roadmap or what you guys are looking at. Like, give us something to be, this is how we're doing so far. This is our messaging going forward. This is how we're marketing these things. And you suddenly get rid of all this bad press you're getting online and fan reactions.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to give us that because I think they're just doing it. And if you aren't paying attention, you're not paying attention. I would love if they could just say, though, Xbox Game Studio games will be multi-platform after a timed exclusivity window. That's it. Okay, cool. That's cool. Stop complaining that Xbox won't have exclusives, even though it doesn't matter. But yeah.
Still got that Steam coming on the Xbox handheld to play your PlayStation games on, you know?
Yeah, we need to do we need to do a grander episode for that type of thing.
Like a prediction thing?
Yeah.
Oh, good, because I got a good one I thought of today too already. I'll just throw it to you right now. With how they're doing things, do you think we just get a PlayStation branded Xbox controller at some point?
No, not at some point. If PlayStation does Bluetooth fully in their controller, yeah, that is so it can work on an Xbox as well. That is so it can work on the Switch, so it can work on a PC without dongles and doohickeys and cords. Yeah, it won't be like, here's the DualSense for Xbox. Nah, but they will have a Bluetooth version. And it will be so people can play them anywhere. And hey, we have a cool controller with cool hardware in it and cool things. Use that anywhere, right? It becomes that type of fight. Like, you get into accessories. Who has the better accessories? Who has the better platforms? Yeah, I don't think.
That's just what I think.
I think we would see a Xbox branded, the sticks are level, not offset. I forget what it's called. What? Yeah, I think we'd see an Xbox branded controller like that, maybe with a touchpad. Wink, wink, they're like, wink. That's way more likely before.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was like, people always bring up like, oh, I like the controller better. That's why I'm on Xbox. I'm like, well, if the games are over there anyways, what's to stop them from just doing hey, here's our PlayStation Xbox controller. Like, get the hardware sales on there.
Yeah, crazy times. A lot they could do. This handheld is the most exciting thing. And clearly this June, we see it. This June, do we get console announcement for 2026 fall? Does Xbox just come out swinging? I could see it, right? The dominoes are here, and maybe it is a Game Awards teaser, wink, trailer there, but who knows? This Xbox Prime rumor sounds real nice.
Fuck is Xbox Prime?
You haven't seen
Is that
that's
a
the
new
rumor?
is that a new Logan Paul
Hey.
Xbox?
Oh shit, I didn't think about that. No, it's not. But it would make sense if he comes out and is also part of marketing for a console. He definitely would be in that realm with all his friends. No, I just saw that a couple times scrolling on social media. That's the rumored new name. Is that true? Who the hell knows? But it does sound not awful, especially if it is starting a whole new intention with Xbox as a brand, right? Fully hitting with anything as an Xbox. And this is the Xbox Prime. This is yours. Like, if you're an Xbox user, this is the Prime experience. That makes sense, name-wise. It's also a good code name for some tech. We didn't talk about Phil's shelf with multiple doohickeys, a little streaming box, and a controller device that looks like it could be something.
Are you talking this thing up in the top left? I thought that was just like a ROG Ally. Or is that something different?
I don't know. Could it? I haven't seen one before. It could just be a Razer Kishi as well, holding a phone. But behind, on the right side, the other side, is a white box that's real small. It looks exactly like those old specs for the streaming box. You got it's behind his head.
Oh, right there. Yeah.
Yeah, look at that thing right there. Mm-hmm.
God, it's exciting. 2025 is wild. I'm so happy to be in gaming.
Yeah, no, there's a ton of opportunity, ton of potential here. Like new controller, the cylinder, Xbox thing. What is true? We'll see. Is there like a PS5 Pro version for the Xbox? Are they coming out with something?
I hope not.
I hope not. I just wait. But if it is like the handheld makes more sense. And then you have your big console next year. I can see it skipped. But now we're just rambling.
No, I'm just, on that point, though, I'm curious what a console announcement looks like now. Because obviously we got the Game Awards for the Series X. Like, that was a Game Awards huge thing to start the show off. But before, it was always an E3 tease. It always was, hey, we're running our showcase. Here's Project Scorpio. Here's the One X type. Like, how do they do that now? Is it a part of a June showcase, or do they just do a separate media thing for it? I'm curious to see how that works.
I'd imagine June, because they can, and that makes sense. They have the showcase for it.
That's the extended part of the showcase, is the console instead of a game this time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and they're like the Xbox game like showcase, and then it's just and the Xbox update. It's like super vague, and it's like, oh, that's a good call there, because I don't know what game would be the Starfield, the Call of Duty direct portion. What game? Gears, if it does come out. Fable. Yep,
Gears or
those
Fable.
two for sure. Fable and Gears are definitely two games that could fill that spot. Fable more so than a Gears. Gears is pretty straightforward, I think. Fable would be a fantastic game to show off. But yeah, a hardware specific section would not be crazy. Maybe not this year though.
I remember
fun times for being Xbox.
It is. I remember when the Xbox One was revealed. It was my senior year of high school. I called off. I called in sick to school to stay home and watch the fucking reveal. Like this, looking back now, that was terrible. Terrible decision. Because all I got was Forza and Rise and a bunch of sports. Bad.
Yeah, the messaging on that was bad. But that snap with the TV function, so I can watch DirecTV while playing Xbox in the corner, like amazing.
I love Snap.
Like that stuff worked great, and it, again, ahead of its time, and just they couldn't, the way consoles were made or not, just didn't let it happen and not supported enough. Oh, what a missed generation. Sony just had to do that dumbass, here's how you switch games on our platform. You just hand the disc over.
Dumb.
Who bought an Xbox after seeing that? You couldn't argue it. I did. I didn't pay attention to that stuff at the time. I bought an Xbox still.
I did sat at Walmart for 5-6 hours for it that night. Couldn't afford games, so I literally just played Power Star Golf for like a week until I can go get Dead Rising 4 and Rise.
That's funny. Yeah.
Great times.
Just Destiny. Just Destiny.
I think we call it there.
What an episode.
Yeah, we had a lot to catch up on. It's back to regular scheduled programming. Be back same time next week, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. My end, I don't got a lot. As I said, I was sick most of this week, so I was out in the dumps. I did not get nothing done or accomplished. This week, though, I want to do something for Fantasy Critic, just go over my list, deeper thoughts on that. Easy stuff to make on. Did have our first pickup this week with Ninja Gaiden 4. So that's exciting. Something to look out for. I thought it was you when I saw the beta. I was like, oh, Kyle's getting on it.
No. Nah, I was like, I'm not going to jump on the first game that gets announced. And yeah, he paid $10 for it, our friend Kenny. So I was not going to bet more than $5. So would not have got it anyways, but.
What do you got going on, friend? Still got your wrestling stuff going? Still excited about the sports?
Man, Friday reset the PC. It took all day. Didn't do Saturday night's main event, but I still watched it. Some fun stuff is happening in wrestling, even if it doesn't progress anything. But back Monday, watching Raw live tomorrow, 5 p.m. Pacific time, and then we'll post a podcast, Tangential Wrestling, on Wednesday morning, so you can catch that. Talking about the last week in wrestling, starting with SmackDown on Friday all the way to Raw the next Monday, and just trying stuff out, having a lot of fun with it. I got ideas. It's fun. It's fun to talk wrestling. It's goofy. It's silly, but the community has been like really cool, so that's awesome. It's just a bunch of dorks wanting to believe some fake people fighting. Like, let us just have fun. The world sucks.
World sucks.
But yeah, Royal Rumble next weekend. So Saturday I will be watching that. That's going to be a great time because that's where all the storylines now should hit. Because man, this time before sucks. It's just tires in the mud, nothing going on. Anyways, now I'm getting stuck on that. But yeah, trying to get back to streaming a game as well. I'll hit you up too, so we get something going. Marvel Rivals, or I'm not doing Smite. So sorry.
God, I can't wait to talk about that next week. I'm all in again. I hate it, and I'm all in. What a time.
Yeah.
What a turnaround.
Yeah, I want to get through Ninja Gaiden Black more just to see how far I can get into it, or if I end up beating it long term, or I still got to beat Indiana Jones. I'm just taking my time with it. I keep getting eaten by a barracuda or an eel or a snake, or the game's glitching. I'm not sure what's going on, so I haven't played it since a couple days ago.
I get tapped out on Indiana Jones. I think I've had my time. I don't think it's something I'm rolling credits on, which I'm okay with. Again, I talked about this year I wanted to not force myself to finish things. I'm already at one. Hat in time, I'm out. I clocked out, I did my time with you. I'm done. Indiana Jones, I think it's right there.
It's fair. Yeah, we'll talk about it. I'm looking forward to beating it so we can have a full conversation. Even if you don't beat it, like, get into why and why not.
Yeah. That'll be next week after. Same time, twitch.tv/BadlandsBacklogs. All of our other socials right above on here, linked down below. You can find the show Monday morning, YouTube, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, all the good places. If you like what we're doing, drop us a like, follow, share, comment, whatever. Everything you do helps us in the end. We appreciate you all. Happy gaming. Until next time.